Today we are back in the 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor. I've spent the week in this truck and wanted to give you guys some thoughts on what it's been like to live with and how this Raptor is an improvement over the previous generation, and maybe a little bit about how it compares to the Ram TRX that we had earlier this year. Let's walk you around this thing, show you what it's like inside and out. This is a little bit of a different spec from what we drove a few weeks ago. This truck is equipped with a Raptor 37 Performance Package, which is a $7,500 option, and that includes a few things. First of all, it's the 37-inch tire option. So these are 37 by 12.5-inch BFG KO2 all-terrain tires. Those are mounted on 17-inch forged alloy wheels that are Beadlock Capable. Very cool. And you get these beautiful Rhapsody blue leather Alcantara suede seats that are made by Recaro. They're super supportive, really comfortable, and they look fantastic. I think Ford did an excellent job evolving the design of this new 2021 Raptor. It looks really good, and with all the changes from the 2021 F-150, it's a pretty nice truck to live with too. We get all the features back here in the tailgate. You've got your ruler and measurement devices, place to put clamps, this whole step situation that makes it easy to get into the bed. This is nothing new, but Ford has had this for quite a while. We have a nice looking bed liner. This also has Pro Power on board, and just a nice usable 5.5-foot bed. We get an automatic tailgate. This Raptor can also tow up to 8,200 pounds, which is an increase from the previous model. The Raptor only comes in the Super Crew configuration, so we've got a ton of interior space. That does make this base price about $11,000 more expensive than the previous gen. We have a $65,000 starting price. Not cheap, but still a little bit less expensive than some other F-150s that we've driven that are not as fun and exciting to drive, but this feels just as luxurious and just as nice. This has got to be one of the largest interior spaces I've experienced in any modern vehicle. I don't really know who needs this big of an interior, but it's here and it is just palatial in here. Everything is supersized in this new Raptor. It's so wide, there's so much room in this truck. This Raptor even has the folding shifter, so you can fold this down, have a little makeshift table to snack on or do some work. Just don't put anything in the little cubby in front of the shifter, otherwise it'll get crushed. A couple of cup holders here, heated rear seats, lots of charging and AC ports. Got some storage behind the seats. This also has the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Decent sound system, a little bit bass heavy, but we'll test that at the end of this video. Got nice armrests, a very comfortable seating position back here. I'm laid back just a little bit, not too upright. And then underneath these rear seats is some more clever storage solutions. You can fold this out and have lockable storage underneath the seats. You just kind of move this around and you can lock it all together in place. Then all you do is you fold the seats down, take your key, lock it right here, and you have lockable storage, which is great. You do have to pull these tabs on both sides though to fold the seats down, which means you have to go to the other side of the truck. Let's take a look under the hood. This has Ford's 3.5-liter EcoBoost, 450 horsepower. With these 37-inch tires, we take a bit of a hit with fuel economy. This is rated for 15 miles to the gallon in the city, 16 on the highway. So you are not going to be getting great gas mileage in this new Raptor. So all in the name of off-road performance. And I think pretty much any lifted truck on the market is going to be achieving those numbers. And the fact that it can do that well is pretty good. I still think the Raptor inherently has always been a bit too large to be usable as an everyday vehicle. It's just massive in every environment. Even off-road, it tends to be a little bit tight on trails, but if you can find a space where you can really open this truck up, and that's not an issue, I say go for it. This thing is just a riot to drive on and off-road every day, and as just a fun vehicle. Of course, this new truck is getting pretty pricey, but with everything that it offers, it still makes a very compelling case for a fun off-road performance vehicle. Look at these Recaros, they just look fantastic. You've got Bang & Olufsen speakers in the headrests, Let's hop inside, show you around this interior a little bit. I think the highlight here for me is definitely these Recaro Rhapsody Blue seats, but everything else in this interior is very nice. We have excellent ergonomics, buttons placed in very nice locations. Really the only thing that's a little bit too far of a reach is the lock and unlock buttons, but everything else in here seems to be pretty well done. You even get a bunch of auxiliary switches up here to customize lights, whatever you need, and they're pre-wired switches, so you can just kind of figure out what you want to put up there as far as accessories go. Got a place to put your sunglasses, a massive sun visor that slides, blocks a lot of sunlight if you need it to. We've got some quick access controls up here for turning on and off stop start, your camera view, parking, traction control off, and then this button over here to the far right turns on trail control, which is basically one pedal driving, and that's only available in 4 high or 4 low. Even though Ford gives you this massive Sync 4 touchscreen, we still get a lot of physical controls and buttons in this Raptor. All of your climate control layout is very easy, very intuitive. You've got your heated, cooled seats, your heated steering wheel, which is very nice, not too hot, doesn't burn your hands off, your trailer brake controller. You've got lots of charging solutions right here. Here's your wireless charging under this little cubby right here. Like I said earlier, you can put stuff here, but very often when you go from drive into park, you'll bang your hand into it, and you have to kind of be careful with what you put in there, especially if you're folding the shifter down to use this table. Otherwise though, we have some really nice places to put our phones, little slot here, a couple good sized cup holders. You've got a secondary glove box right in there with this button, and then a pretty large glove box down there. The center console is massive, you know, typical F-150 stuff. No sunroofs, which is just fine with me. Awesome metal paddle shifters. All of your cruise control settings are well organized. You've got 3 buttons here to control your steering feel. You've got normal, comfort, sport, and then damper settings, normal, sport, and off-road, and of course your exhaust loudness. This valve exhaust is very cool. You can switch between quiet, normal, sport, and Baja. A little warning comes up, says off-road use only, see manual. It sounds really good inside. They've tweaked the exhaust in this new Raptor, and the V6 actually sounds a lot better than the previous generation, in my opinion. Again, when we get on the road, you'll hear a lot of that. I love these seats. I have a really nice driving position in this Raptor, tons of adjustability. You can even bring the pedals closer or farther away from you. You've got physical buttons for your gauge, brightness. I mean, this is just an F-150, but cooler and better looking. And it just feels a little bit special, especially with this view over the hood. And you look out the mirrors, you see those wide fenders behind you. It's pretty neat. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about with the interior. Let's take this thing on the road and take it for a drive. We'll show you what the reverse camera looks like. All of our 360 views, our camera views are very nice. Parking sensors work great. We get wireless Apple CarPlay. We're just going to start off in normal everything. We'll even turn the exhaust to normal mode. I have enjoyed driving it around in Baja and quiet. It's nice to have that range of exhaust tone. On the inside, the cabin insulation in this new Raptor is so good that the exhaust sounds pretty toned down, pretty muted, but on the outside it just absolutely wails. It's pretty obnoxious, actually. It's kind of awesome. Before we get started with today's drive, I would like to thank our sponsor for this video, Phantom Wallet. This is my daily wallet. It's a well-engineered product that I really have enjoyed using the last year or so. This is the Phantom R. It's their higher-end model. You can bolt on a number of different attachments to the back. This is the key holder attachment, and I really like this because it kind of combines everything that I need out of my wallet. I can hold my keys, I can have a money clip on the other side that I bolt on, hold some cash, and I can fan out all my cards like this. There are a number of different finishes, color choices, card capacities, pretty much customizable to anything that you need. Check them out at phantomwallet.com and use the code TOPHER for 10% off your order. 10-speed automatic, paddle shifters that you could just tap for days because we have so many gears. The automatic tuning here is so much better. I'm so glad that Ford finally figured out how to calibrate this 10-speed. I noticed that immediately on my first impressions drive with the Raptor a few weeks ago, and all week it's been flawless. No hard shifts, really well tuned. I've got to say the driving experience with this new Raptor is very polished, very refined. These digital gauges are interesting. You either love them or you hate them. I wasn't too crazy about them when I first got into them. Now I'm used to it. It's fine. It's just kind of weird. I would like the ability to change up the graphics a little bit maybe. And you can do some changes. You can customize what's shown and what you see in the gauge cluster, and that is nice. We do have a few different views here where we can go in and see our trip, our fuel economy, tire pressure, off-road mode. You can see your approach angles and your tilt angles, all that good stuff, which is neat. There's a bunch of configurability and customization in these gauges, which is nice. Definitely don't want to leave it on fuel economy. You'll get depressed. The column screen is kind of cool too because that's pretty minimal. And this Raptor is quick. Never quite rips or really comes onto power like the Ram TRX does. It's a very smooth power delivery, but still it's pretty fast. I don't think I'd be wanting for too much more power. We'll see how it is off-road, but it feels about the same as the previous generation Raptor, not too much quicker. And of course it does feel a little bit more sluggish on these 37-inch tires. Those do affect performance noticeably compared to the 35s that come standard on the Raptor. I think handling is a little bit more dulled, doesn't feel as nimble, feels a little bit heavier on the road. Ride's nice though. The suspension is tuned really well for these 37s. We have a bunch of different drive modes. For the street, we've got slippery weather, tow haul, sport, and we have a bunch of different settings that those correspond to with the suspension, the steering, the exhaust. We can put our transmission into full manual mode. Our pedals get pretty responsive with that on, which is nice. This 10-speed gives us really nice blips on downshifts. Let's put it in Baja. It sounds good. I've got to say, I am very impressed with how this new Raptor drives. I think Ford ironed out all the other little issues and complaints that I had with the driving experience. The previous generation Raptor never felt like it was quite 100% finished. It was kind of a 95% truck in that I feel like they could have improved the calibration a little bit. There were some tuning things with the transmission that I did not like at all. It was kind of rough sometimes, and it felt like it could use a little bit more power. This new Raptor fills in all those voids perfectly, and I think it drives great. It's such a comfortable truck to live with, but it's also fun. You can toss it around a little bit, turn off traction control. It'll yaw a bit around corners. Definitely doesn't handle as well on these 37-inch tires, but I do think it still does better than the Ram TRX around corners. The brakes feel pretty good too. Let's do a little 0 to 60 here. It is quick, don't get me wrong. The speed really creeps up on you. Handles pretty well too. I feel like there's a little bit more mechanical grip here compared to the Ram TRX. And actually, that brings up a good point. How does this compare to the Ram TRX? Well, there's going to be the obvious comparison. It doesn't have as exciting or as nice sounding of an engine. This V6 does sound a lot better, but of course the Ram TRX just rips. That Hellcat motor is an absolute monster. The supercharger sounds insane. It's a pretty cool experience. You're gonna pay more for it, but I think as a result, if you want a V8, right now the Ram TRX is the only super truck available that has that. Let's get us into sport mode. I do wish these drive modes would shift a little bit faster. It takes forever sometimes. That said though, I don't think this Raptor is any less fun to drive than the Ram TRX. The Ram is going to get slightly worse fuel economy. All week I've been averaging between 14 to 16 miles to the gallon on this Raptor. The Ram TRX, 9 or 10 mpg no matter how you drove it. And that was a little bit rough, I'm not going to lie. These are both fantastic trucks and you would be thrilled to drive and live with either one. If you really want a V8, hold out for the Raptor R. I'm sure that's going to deliver on every front. Hopefully they'll throw the GT500 engine in there, and this will just be a force to be reckoned with. As it sits though, this V6, for a starting price of 65 grand, it's a great powertrain, and Ford has finally done really nice things with this 10-speed automatic. It's comfortable and very nice to drive on a daily basis. You put the exhaust in quiet mode on the highway. There's no drone. Is it as nice as the Ram? I think it's right up there with it. Both trucks feel like off-road trucks. They both have a little bit less mechanical grip than you would get out of, say, a touring all-season tire that you would get on the standard F-150. These KO2s definitely have a little bit less mechanical grip, but you get awesome off-road and pretty good all-weather performance with them. Little example of stop-start turning on there. Really the only complaints that I have with this Raptor are I wish the drive modes would change a little bit quicker. This switch is a bit clunky. The graphics are better than some other Ford products, but it takes a bit too long for everything to switch over. It'd be nice to have a little bit more clarity with that drive mode selector. And I just think that the Raptor is too big. This thing is massive, and it's a chore to park, it's a chore to pull in and out of spaces. You really have to plan out using this thing every day. It's doable. America's a big country, and we have a lot of space in and around this country, but it would be great to get a package like this that was just a little bit smaller. The Ranger Raptor, if that ever comes out, is going to be the perfectly sized off-road truck because you can take it out onto trails, you can enjoy it, but it's still a usable space. Whereas I feel like the interior space in this, at least for me, I'm not a huge guy. This feels like complete overkill. I'm just swimming in this interior. I've gotten used to it over the week, but it seems a little bit excessive. This is a lot larger vehicle than it really needs to be, and that affects weight, it affects fuel economy. But again, that's the way things have been going, and here we are. I just hope that Ford comes out with a Ranger Raptor for those who don't need or want this big of a truck, because it is really its only and biggest flaw, its only downside. Otherwise, this thing is just fantastic. It's very, very nice to live with, very nice to drive. I have really loved my time in this new Raptor this week. It's been an absolute riot. The suspension tuning for the street is fantastic. You have 3 different modes: sport, off-road, and normal. I honestly can't really tell the difference between normal and sport. It maybe gets a little bit firmer, a little bit more bouncy over bumps, but in normal mode, the dampers are just tuned great. There's a lot less bounciness and much more composure in this Raptor suspension than the Ram T-Rex. The Ram was a bit bouncy, a little bit busy on the highway, especially at higher speeds, and this Raptor just smooths everything out beautifully. I think that's the big win compared to the Ram T-Rex, is the suspension tuning. Ford has really nailed that with the dampers and the whole setup on this Raptor. They've done a really good job with it. So that's kind of gonna sum up my thoughts on this new Raptor. Let's drive this thing around a little bit more. We'll listen to this twin turbo EcoBoost V6. Let's go into manual mode. We'll play with these paddles. It is really fun how this truck moves around underneath you. I've always said that the Raptor maintains sports car dynamics and predictability, but it takes it off-road. That doesn't necessarily translate to its on-road driving demeanor, but in the sand, in the mud, in the dirt, you can slide this thing around beautifully, and it is just a blast. I can't express how good the tuning is on this 10-speed. Lets you ride out that torque. It's not downshifting too much. There maybe isn't as much body roll in sport mode as there is in normal. Definitely doesn't seem to dive under braking as much. Does happen in no time. All week this interior's been tight, no rattles. This has really been a luxurious truck to drive this week, and I think that's probably the best thing about this Raptor, is that it is so comfortable and so nice to drive on a daily basis. I just want to put miles on this thing. I love being able to make the exhaust loud if you want it to be, or completely quiet in quiet mode, if that's what mood you're in. Let's put it in Baja, let it rip around this entrance ramp here. Back into quiet mode. So let's talk about cruise control. We don't have Blue Cruise on this Raptor, so I haven't tested anything out like that this week, but The lane keeping system does work quite well. Pretty similar to a lot of the other Ford lane keep systems, which are nice. The only thing is even if I have my hands on the wheel, it will prompt me quite often to put my hands on the wheel. You pretty much have to maintain some pressure, steering in kind of the opposite direction of whatever the system's doing, to keep that warning from constantly coming up. So what I've been doing is I've either been resting a hand here or a hand here and just kind of letting my arm weight keep that steering engaged all the time. And you know, it's a system that I've been using on occasion. It's not something that I'm using all the time. Honestly, I'd rather just drive the truck myself, but I do like the way this cruise control system works. You can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments really easily. The button layout is fantastic. You can really quickly turn on and off the lane keep, which is great. That's a really nice highlight with the steering wheel, is you can access all of these settings, change drive modes, steering feel, damper settings, exhaust note settings with just a click of a button. You don't even have to look down at what you're pressing. You kind of know where it is. And that's just been great. I have had a couple little bugs and weird things going on with the speed sign recognition system this week, so I actually turned that off. It kept setting my cruise control when I would resume from having it off to 81 miles per hour for some reason on the highway, or about 11 miles an hour above the speed limit, which is kind of strange. And I would engage it, and then all of a sudden the Raptor would start accelerating. So maybe a little bit of a software bug that needs to be worked out. I just turned that system off, and it seems to not have any issues after that. But something I thought I would be worth mentioning. Of course, even in quiet mode, when you give it the beans, you'll get that exhaust making some noise again as those valves open above, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 RPM. But at speed on the highway, it's pretty quiet. There's a little bit of wind noise, a little bit of tire roar, but it's all pretty distant. It's just such a nice truck to drive. All right, well, let's wrap up this video with a quick sound system test of this Bang & Olufsen sound system, this premium audio. It's a decent sound system, a little bit bass heavy, but you can go in and make adjustments for that. Okay, hopefully that gives you guys a pretty good idea. Stop-start activates really smoothly and pretty quickly. By the time you have a chance to take your foot off the brake and hit the accelerator, the engine's already up and running and ready to rock. Pretty nice visibility too in this new Raptor. I have nice sight lines out of these mirrors. I like how the top of the mirror angles in a little bit so you can just see behind you well. Nice view out of the rear view. Pretty good visibility out of the sides, unless if someone's next to you in a Miata. Let's rip it one more time in sport mode. Cool. So, summing up the 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor. Excellent suspension tuning, really nice dynamics. For what this truck can do off-road and what it's capable of, it drives great on the street. I think it handles and rides better than the Ram TRX. Definitely not as exciting of a powertrain, but as far as the EcoBoost 3.5 V6s go, this is the best iteration we've seen from Ford. With this retuned exhaust, I think it sounds fantastic. It actually sounds like a V6 now. Makes some proper noises. You want a V8, hold out for the Raptor R, but I do think this has a nice blend of fuel economy, weight, performance. I've been really happy with this V6 all week. It makes a good noise, and as on the outside, it is loud, super loud, almost obnoxiously so. But I love that you can go in to the exhaust and tune it to quiet if you want to. You can even have quiet start with this Raptor, which is cool. Tons of adjustability, tons of settings, all the luxury features you could ever want in your full-size truck. Great towing capability, 8,200 pounds. You can tow with this Raptor now, which is awesome. A little bit higher gross vehicle weight rating and a higher payload capacity in this new 21 Raptor as well. So that's always useful. Just a great performance truck. Super fun, very comfortable. It's put a smile on my face all week. And it's just a little bit too big, but that's okay. If you've got a smaller vehicle or another vehicle that you can take into town, use that, and then the rest of the time just hoon this thing around and go wherever you want. Fun times. Thanks for watching, guys. That's going to wrap up this video. I think it's been a really good week in this Raptor. I can't wait to take this thing off-road. I'm sure it's just going to annihilate everything we throw at it. So stay tuned for that video. Until then, we'll see you guys then. Take it easy.